So we've got this notion of a belief as a kind of mental state, a particular kind of mental state, right? One species of mental states, if you like, because there's other species, pain and emotions, etc., etc. Pain would be an instance of emotion, as emotions another species or whatever. And various beliefs would be instantiations of the general species of belief, right? So your mental states are kind of like a genus with various species. Belief, if you like, could be one of them. Now, we also saw that there's a connection, right? When you believe something like 2 plus 2 and you claim to know it, so let's just take it that you know this and you believe it, it's okay to say lots of things you believe without knowing, but it's odd to say that you know something without believing it. And it would also be that if you come to know, if you think you believe something and then you come to know that that's false, you would probably cease believing it. The other thorny question is whether or not you can convince yourself. Like, is belief voluntary, right? That's been a long discussion in philosophy, and if we have time, we might get to that. It's quite fascinating. Anyway, so believe and know. So belief is like, this big outer circle, and knowing is like a smaller one. Beliefs that are justified get to go in there. So beliefs out here are, you can say, unjustified beliefs, and beliefs in here are justified ones. Justified belief, that's knowledge, right? Because knowledge is equal to a true justified belief. So if the belief is of something that's true and it's justified, then it's there. Because you could have a true belief that you just formed by luck, right? You just happen to be lucky and you say, like you could rattle off some numbers and believe that this huge number plus this huge number is another one, and you believe it and it's true. But we still would say you don't know it. It was a lucky guess. You got it right. Lucky guess. Lucky guesses aren't knowledge. All right, so back to the mental state theory. It's really saying that there's the proposition. You can entertain, think about the proposition. And I'm using think like as to hold before the mind, right? So the mental state theory is belief is kind of like a coloring of the mental state of thinking the proposition. So I'm thinking 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, and I have sort of an associated mental state, a coloring, shall we say, kind of thing going on, that the 2 plus 2, when I'm entertaining it, I have also this belief that colors the proposition, right? Think about things that you believe. Hopefully 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. And think about things hopefully you don't believe, that dragons are running around. And how do those propositions feel in your mind? Some philosophers said that belief is a kind of feeling of the proposition, right? How it's felt, how it feels in the mind, right? Hey, a lot of people, when they tell something they know isn't true and they don't believe it, they have a visceral reaction, right? That's what a polygraph tests. Your bodily reaction. So anyways, it's not an odd thing to say that beliefs are kind of mental states, and they're connected, although the bodily one is betraying our next option. We'll look at that in a minute. So belief is a coloring of the mental state of the proposition. So you have this belief to knowing. So you think about this one, though. So let's say I say, here's another proposition, kind of a wild one here. There is a large Earth-sized diamond at the center of Jupiter, right? That actually was put forward scientifically a number of years ago, but it's wildly hypothetical, right? Because of all the compression in Jupiter atmosphere. Anyways, but forget about that. You can certainly think that proposition. Do you believe it? You might say, nah, I'm not even at belief there. I'm just thinking about it. So there is a kind of movement of the mind. So when you come to believe it, it's a different way of thinking the proposition. And then if you wanted to claim that you know it, this is where the justification would come. So the path from thinking the proposition to believing to knowing, right, has a certain kind of structure. And belief is this sort of coloring of the proposition. And then if it's followed by justification, and if we're like confidence it's true, then it would move to knowing, because in addition to the justification, you need the notion of truth as well. So I'm trying to give you an idea of how all these concepts fit together and how it's actually fairly complicated. So Plato's view of the mind as a kind of messy, swampy thing, and Freud's view of full of these kinds of messy desires and things like that, is not that terribly far-fetched. It seems to, when you think about your own experience, it doesn't seem that ridiculous. Now, So far, so good. It seems that we've got that beliefs are things in the head, right? Things in the mind. But remember when I said the polygraph, if you say something's not true or something you don't believe, you tell a lie. Most people, there's all schools of how to tell when people are lying. They turn up, look their eyes in a certain direction, etc., and they sweat a little, dilation of the iris, whatever. Let's look at some problems in the next video regarding uh, this notion of beliefs as things in the head. And I want to look at it from a very simple perspective involving activists.